Welcome to Tech Startup Stories, hosted by Natalie Binns. This is the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the B2B startup world.
Hi, I'm Natalie Binns, and I'm the host of Tech Startup Stories. This podcast is really designed to share the unique and challenging journeys of all the people that are building small startups to scale-ups in the tech space. My background? Initially, I was in sales, and then I moved into marketing, and I've been lucky enough to work with some amazing tech companies. But my passion is really startups. And that led me back to helping tech startups set up their marketing and go-to-market functions where the budgets are tight and the resources are few and far between. So let's get into this week's podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited today to speak with Sandy Kronenberg. Sandy joins us from a brand new, newly come out of stealth mode, Netarx, and is the founder and CEO of the organization. And they are a cybersecurity company, and they protect you and I and businesses from AI and very clever, sophisticated social engineering attacks. So Sandy, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh, yeah, no, my pleasure. Thank you.
I would love to know what your journey has been to kind of get to this point. What has been the inspiration, and what your business is all about.
Yeah, so love technology, always have, and I own a private equity firm, and that private equity firm is moving millions of dollars around on multiple times a week. And it started about 2 years ago, where one friend or associate or another was, pretty much victim of either a ransomware attack, cybersecurity threats, and or deepfake attacks. And so I have had a lot of experience in IT businesses in the past. I've been fortunate enough to start a few and exit them successfully, and uh, one day just had an idea, put a pen to paper, and said, I think I can help with this problem, and started writing our first patent. And that was, like I said, just a little under 2 years ago. Since then, I've written 4 patents total, plus a PCT for international protection, and now have a team of developers who are constantly coding and constantly iterating, and we have a product that we brought to market.
That's amazing. And on the AI side, because obviously everybody's talking about AI, this is the hot topic, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I was even sent a link to a whole article on the US government site the other day about it and the impact. What do you think is so unique about AI? And why has it become this huge thing that everyone's talking about?
So AI just makes things faster, right? Like, so instead of doing research on a particular topic, we used to just Google something, and it would come back with a list of articles. Well, here those articles are being processed for you, right? And so how it applies to cybersecurity and my business in particular, um, the vast majority of cyber attacks starts with social engineering, and it's a click in some way, shape, or form. It's convincing someone to do something they shouldn't be doing. And so, for instance, perhaps it's just phishing, and someone sends an email to someone, and they're just using that information, that clickbait, or the getting the person to interact with that email to start gathering information. It could be a voice call or a video call where someone just calls the help desk and pretends to be an employee. That was what happened with the MGM um, ransomware attack. The attack started with someone just getting low-level access to that network. They eventually then used that foothold to get more and higher access, and to the point where they owned the entire organization. They shut down the servers and said, "Hey, until you give us a ransom of, I think it was some 30 or $40 million, we're going to have your entire network shut down. And so I was talking to a Google fellow who she thinks that I think it was somewhere north of 95% of all cyber attacks start with social engineering. So now taking it back to AI, well, AI just makes it that much more convincing. And so artificial intelligence being applied to that same phone call, well, I can now sound like that person. Or the case of a video call, um, this Zoom call that we are on right now, when I'm working on one of my higher end machines that has a much better graphics processor, I can literally substitute my face and or my voice. Very easy tools to do that. They're free. You don't even have to buy them. They're available publicly. And I could click a button and all of a sudden I'm Tom Cruise. My wife says, "Hey, can you leave that on a little bit longer?" But in any case, the point is that that happened last year. So there was a finance worker for an Australian, very large construction firm. That finance worker received what they believed to be a purchase order. Um, and the instructions, he thought they were a little suspect, so he hopped on a Zoom call. I don't know if it was Zoom or Teams. I was talking with his CFO and VP of finance. They confirmed it. He sent out $25 million, only to find out later it was a deep fake. They were not the people he thought they were. They had a blurry background, but otherwise they looked and sounded everything like he thought. And so this is now occurring commonly around the world.
It's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So, how do I know that this is really you, Sandy?
Don't know if it's so that's why Netarx has developed what we call the Flurp. And the Flurp is our first product, and that product is essentially a visual indication on the side of your screen. And that visual indication confirms for you that you're either speaking to a coworker and or a strategic third party. Maybe it's a vendor and or a client. And that visual indication is a way in which to protect Teams, Meet, Zoom, and or emails such as Outlook and or Gmail and or voice. So we now have both Android and iOS apps as well. And so we need to basically um, protect all enterprise communication. And so we've come to market first with these three modalities: voice, video, and email.
Wow, that's amazing. So the bad guys got cleverer, and just got greedier by the sounds of it.
Oh, yeah. So this is now the world's third largest economy. So if you look at the GDP of the United States is number one,
Mm-hmm.
China number two, and cybersecurity or cybercrime is the number three world's largest economy. Depending on who you ask, it's anywhere between $5 and $10 trillion a year.
Goodness me, goodness me. So I know as a business, you guys were in stealth mode for quite some time. Walk me through that process and what made you kind of have that period. 'Cause I know that some companies choose to go into a stealth mode, others just like to kind of talk about what they do from the beginning.
Well, this is an arms race, and it is something that we filed intellectual property to try and help build a moat. But with the rapid development look, I'm going against the big guys, Microsoft and Okta and Palo Alto and CrowdStrike. They're all massive multi-billion dollar firms that if they decide to go do this, the difference though is a lot of them are focused on different areas, and we think that the cross modality as well as cross manufacturer, right? So like Microsoft's not going to start supporting and protecting Google infrastructure, right? They're an adversarial, and so we, being the mice running around the elephant's feet, need to stay quiet just a little bit longer. Well, that was a few months ago, and so we did that until the point where is now we're actually talking now with Microsoft and a whole bunch of other very large organizations about our platform. So we've reached the point of maturity that we're confident. Yes, people are gonna, you know, try to compete with us, but we have a significant advantage in terms of both time, and some unique things that we've built. But just more than anything else, it's time and maybe a little bit with the intellectual property protection with patents.
Got it. Got it. And who would you say is your typical target audience that will be buying your solutions?
Yeah, so it's companies most at threat. Now, granted, the vast majority of companies would benefit from our platform because it's any sensitive departments within any organization. So we've got a lot of interest from healthcare and universities and manufacturing, especially when you look at their C-suite communicating with their finance departments, just as I mentioned with that construction firm that had that 25 million theft last year. But, the first and largest, vertical that we are seeing the most interest from is finance and, banking, and it's quite obvious the issues that they're having right now. Their fraud departments can't keep up. It is, an arms race, and so they need to do everything they can to keep their customers safe and that information safe. And so we're having many, many meetings with lots of large banks and financial services companies as well. Now, it should only not be surprising that we're getting a lot of government as well, but we all know the sales cycle of government, they take a long time. So um, GSA schedules and all of that stuff is a very long process. But the financial institutions are the most interested in. Now they have a lot of red tape that you need to cut through as well, and so we're entering into proof of concepts with some of those.
Got it. Got it. And, this is not your first rodeo. You've already said you've been in this industry a long time. You've done exits, all the rest of it. What is your vision for this business in the sort of longer term?
So, my focus is to grow the business as quickly as possible, to have it pervade not just voice, video, and email, but to provide complete coverage for all communications within an enterprise. And I don't look at an exit to one company or another. I am interested in growing the business as large as I can, hopefully to the point of an IPO.
Fantastic. And then on this journey, what has been most surprising? Because, you kind of knew what to expect, I'm guessing, for a lot of it. But what's been most surprising for you so far?
So I started my first business in the 90s, and I was able to basically use the my savings to set up shop, if you will. Being a kid with a few $1,000s was all I needed. But then when I got my first real client, I needed to buy some gear. I owned an IT services company, and when I got my first real client, it was some $17,000 in gear that I needed, and I got luckily a bridge loan from my dad in the form of a credit card. And I said, "Hey, can I use this credit card?" And he said, "Sure." And I'm pretty certain he was thinking, "Hey, this is how I'm gonna get him to finally go to law school," right? But when I paid him back in less than 2 weeks' time, he got a check in the mail and he's like, "Hey, I got a check. Can I cash it?" And I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Wow, this is for real." I'm like, "Yeah, I made $48,000 on this sale." And he was like, "Wow, okay." So the point that I'm making is the ability to start a business with way less capital was present all those years ago. Now it is crazy just how much time and money and barriers that have been put in place. I'm very fortunate because I'm bankrolling. I bankrolled the pre-seed and the seed round because I've had a few done well. The Series A, I will be looking for a Series A raise in late Q2, early Q3, and the expectation is that I would not have been able to get here had it not been for those previous exits. It's just amazing how much more money and time and regulations have been put in place, and how much harder it is for startups. I'll be honest.
And how much are you guys using AI internally to kind of cope with the amount of work that you need to do?
So we're literally building AI to defeat AI. So our tools. So we're actually using blockchain to secure our communication between the different endpoints and our validators in the cloud. And that's the state of the art technology that we've patented. And so then on top of that, ultra secure ability to avoid, two-factor authentication where you very often get prompted and you have to put in an extra, six-digit code. We're getting rid of that. We use 50 factors. I'm not exaggerating. And we hope, as we keep adding more and more factors over time, we hope to have, this time next year, over 100 factors. But AI itself is the core of our platform. So we ingest all of this email and these voice streams and the video streams, the metadata associated with it, as well as the streaming content. And so what we do is we create a model for voice, and then a model for email, and then a model for video. And then we have a fourth model for third-party APIs. That email, for instance, is taking in a lot of technical metadata. There's things called SPF, DKIM, DMARC. We're taking the IP address, the GPS. We're taking how often you've communicated. All of those things go into a model, and that training data that goes into that model ingests confidence value. And then we take the other different modalities as well, and they all go into what we refer to as a voting ensemble. And that voting ensemble distills out to the end user a simple traffic light: red, yellow, green. Everyone understands a traffic light, green is safe, red is dangerous. And so we're using literally AI to defeat AI. If our platform did not do that, we couldn't evolve and adapt fast enough, and potentially find those threats fast enough. And so we do all of that in real time. So when we hop on a call, it's within seconds. That flirp may change color, and or with that email, and it needs to be real time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, given that this is a journey that you're kind of at the early days of, and you kind of expect to grow, and there's a lot coming this year, what sort of advice would you give to anybody that is looking to kind of burst into this scene, either from a cybersecurity background or any other kind of tech space, looking to start their own business? Not everyone is as fortunate as you, and has their own funding, but what advice would you give somebody that perhaps has a similar mindset to what you had when you were that sort of young person at the start of your career?
Yeah, quite honestly, be humble and lean into friends and all of those relationships, because there's no way you can do it alone anymore. You really do need to build a village to support, whether or not it's whatever the thesis, whatever your specific idea happens to be. You cannot do it alone. You need a solid team, and whether or not those are full-time employees and or contract and or advisors and or advocators or influencers. You need to build a solid ecosystem and a village in order to get the awareness and get to market. And you can't do that if you can pound your chest thinking, oh, I can do this all on my own, or I can keep it. Even though I've done very well, you have to reward and incentivize. I'm a firm believer in having everyone who's strategic around me have a piece of the puzzle or a piece of the pie.
Absolutely. Great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Sandy. I'm so excited to watch the journey for Netarx and how you're going to stop these bad guys from stealing money and the new bank robbers, effectively, aren't they?
Yeah, without question, and they never have to go in the bank, and they don't leave the comfort of their computer. It's state sponsored. It's across the world, and different groups from different countries are now working together because one specializes in databases, and the other one specializes in social engineering. The other specializes in malware. It's a creepy world out there.
It's terrifying.
That's it for this episode of Tech Startup Stories. Have a story you'd like us to share or a topic you'd want to cover? Reach out and we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care.